Hello, I'm Brad Weimmeister with Colorado Parks and Wildlife. I work as a biologist out of Durango, and I'm pleased to present Colorado's bighorn sheep updates. The real work here was done by Brad Banglis, Alyssa Kircher, Genevieve Fuller, and Andy Holland. Colorado's bighorn populations are found primarily in the central and western portion of the state. The blue polygons represent hunted populations of Rocky Mountain bighorns. The red are Rockies that are not hunted, and yellow are desert bighorn populations. The majority of bighorn populations in Colorado are composed of Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep. So more about these populations. Bighorn sheep populations declined dramatically in the late 1800s. As a result, in 1885, Colorado legislature closed bighorn sheep hunting. In 1953, hunting was reopened but heavily regulated. CPW conducted approximately 150 transplants from 1945 to present, which involved about 2,500 animals. Most transplants occurred in the 1970s and 1980s, with approximately 90 translocations occurring in the 1980s. There are very few locations remaining in the state that have both suitable habitat for bighorn sheep and that do not have domestic goats or sheep nearby. This is an important consideration when evaluating translocations to reduce contact between domestic sheep and bighorn sheep, and to attempt to avoid the probability of respiratory disease outbreaks in bighorn sheep. The contemporary peak population estimate was in 2001 as just over 7,500 animals. In 2020, the population estimate for Colorado was 7,085. Of those, 6,500 were in hunted populations and 585 in herds that were not hunted. Ram and ewe harvest has increased over the years due to providing more hunting opportunity through an increase in licensed numbers. The 3-year average success in 63% for rams and 54% for ewes. Next, we'll move to desert bighorn sheep and look at population size, status, and hunting opportunities. Desert bighorn sheep were first introduced to Colorado in 1979 from Arizona. Between 1979 and 2001, CPW, then Colorado Division of Wildlife, conducted 12 transplant operations and translocated 218 desert bighorn sheep from Arizona, Nevada, and Utah. In 2010 and 2011, CPW transplanted 30 bighorns from the Upper Dolores River to the Middle Dolores as range expansion supplemental transplant. As a result of these significant and expensive transplant efforts, Colorado has 3 desert bighorn sheep herds and 4 game management units. These include, shown here in the yellow, the northernmost herd is the Black Ridge, or S56, then the Uncompahgre/Dominguez, and S62, and then in the southern part, Dolores River, which is S63 and S64. These are the yellow polygons. The overall trend in estimated desert bighorn sheep numbers gradually increased from 1990 to 2001. In 2002 and 2003, estimated desert bighorn sheep numbers in the 2 largest herds, the Uncompahgre and the Dolores River, dropped considerably, presumably due to an all-age die-off. S62 herd had documented pneumonia, however, the Upper Dolores did not. Severe drought conditions occurred between 2001 and 2003. Populations are increasing, and the 2020 post-hunt population estimate is 550 and shown in blue on the graph. Ram harvest is shown in red and mirrors the population trend. There were 12 rams harvested last year. This harvest occurred in the 3 different herds, and in Black Ridge, S56, there are 4 ram licenses. The 3-year average success is 92%. This is 1.5% of the population. The 3-year average growth rings are 5.8, which is on a slightly increasing trend. The Uncompahgre/Dominguez S62 population has 5 ram licenses. The 3-year average success is 93%, which is approximately 2.6% of the population. The 3-year average growth rings on harvested ram is 6.4 and on a slightly increasing trend. Then lastly, the Dolores River is composed of S63 and S64. It has 5 licenses, 2 in 63 and 3 in 64. The 3-year average success is 80%, which is 2.2% of the population. And the 3-year average growth rings on harvested ram is 5.6 and is stable. The potential of disease is a concern in many of our bighorn populations. There are large livestock operations and smaller hobby farms nearby the desert bighorn populations. There was a ram that was caught as a 2-year-old and was negative for MOV, and he later died as a 5-year-old, and at that time tested positive. Other diseases include hemorrhagic disease and sinus tumors. Sinus tumors are found in several of the Rocky populations and now documented in our desert bighorn sheep. This year, outdoor recreation users reached an all-time high. Impacts to desert bighorn sheep due to increase in recreation activities is a concern to CPW. A new research project started this year, and I'll give more details in a later slide. Then lastly, predation and drought and their impacts to bighorn populations are also a concern. The Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission adopted the state's first desert bighorn management plan. The plan identifies a population objective of 175 to 275. The current estimate is 185. It also set a ram management objective based on the longest horn length of harvested rams. Lengths of horns are measured at the time after harvest. It's a mandatory check requirement. The objective is set at 28 to 33 inches for the longest horn, and the current average is 31 inches. These management objectives will keep management recommendations similar to current management, which is what hunters and the public requested. All desert bighorn populations, including the Dolores River herd, are classified as Tier 1 herds. Tier 1 herds receive the highest priority for research and for management. Field work began this past December at the Dominguez Escalante National Conservation Area. The goal of the study is to determine recreation impacts and disturbances on desert bighorn sheep. Ashley Evan from New Mexico State University presented on this yesterday, so I will not go into any more detail. And that wraps up everything from Colorado. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me either by email or by phone. Thank you for your time.